Today we're going to show you how to make delicious homemade sourdough bread following our basic sourdough bread recipe. This recipe only calls for 4 ingredients: heritage flour, water, salt, and sourdough. Let's get started. Pre-soak the flour by combining all 1,000 grams of flour with 720 grams of water. Tip: if your starter is watery and runny, use a little less water in the recipe. Mix into a shaggy dough. Cover and let rest for 1 hour. After your pre-soak, add 20 grams of salt to your dough. Mix enough to combine. Add your 250 grams of sourdough starter to the dough. Mix and knead for about 5 minutes until a smooth bread dough is formed. This step can be done by using a mixer, or you can do it by hand. Place the dough into a large oiled mixing bowl. Cover and bulk ferment for several hours depending on the temperature of your room. The warmer the room, the faster your dough will rise. Once your dough has doubled in size, stretch and fold the dough by grabbing the dough and pulling it up. Fold the dough on itself, rotate a quarter turn, and repeat. Do this 3 more times. Cover and repeat the same stretch and fold in 20 minutes. You can decide how many stretch and folds to do. Anywhere between 2 and 5 is common. Divide the dough into 2 equal portions. Shape your dough by pulling the dough towards you using cupped hands to create a taut ball. Place the shaped dough into a well-floured banneton, an oiled mixing bowl, or greased bread pans. Cover and place into the refrigerator for about 12 hours. After 12 hours, if the dough looks fully proofed or nearly doubled in size, you can bake it right away. If it looks like it could use more proofing time, keep it in the plastic wrap and set it on the counter to proof a little bit more before baking. Heat your oven to 425 degrees. If you're baking bread with a Dutch oven, place your Dutch oven into the oven to preheat. A good half-hour preheat is required for a Dutch oven. There are a few different baking methods. In the video, you will see us using a Dutch oven, but you can also bake your bread using bread pans. If using a Dutch oven, turn your dough out onto a piece of parchment paper, being careful not to deflate it. Slash the dough with a razor blade, also known as a lame, and place it into the preheated Dutch oven. Tip: add a few ice cubes to the bottom of your Dutch oven before adding your dough. This will create a little bit of steam and give you an awesome crust. Cover and bake for about 25 minutes. If you like a darker crust, remove the lid of the Dutch oven for the last 10 to 15 minutes of baking. For a lighter crust, leave the lid on. If you're baking bread using bread pans, slash the dough and cover with foil. Place it into the oven. Reduce the heat to 350 degrees and bake for about 40 minutes. For a darker crust, remove the foil for the last 10 to 15 minutes of baking. At the end of the baking time, check the inside temperature of the bread. It should read between 195 and 205 when the bread is done. Remove your bread from the bread pan or the Dutch oven immediately and let it cool on a cooling rack. Let the bread cool completely before digging in. This might be the hardest part of the whole process. And there you have it. Remember, it takes practice to get the feel of sourdough baking. If you aren't getting the results you desire, you can increase the amount of starter or adjust your hydration. Every time you combine flour, water, salt, and starter, it's an experiment, so have fun with it. Sunrise Flour Mill. Rediscover real food.